Harvey, hot iron blacksmith, located near Peoria, Illinois. My address is Chillicothe. I'm going to be showing you the hammer in portion of the chisel and punch as explained in the Mark Asbury Volume 1 handbook on blacksmithing. Portion of my chisel making process is the same as down below with the round punch. So I'm making the finger grip area right now with the rounding hammer and the boring of the handle. So at this point, my process is going to change from the round hole punch to now we're making a chisel. And so you can see the location of my finger grips down to here, and then my heated area is here. For the chisel, I need to reduce the cross section of this material so that when I actually make the chisel, it won't be as wide, so wide. So I'm going to, right now, first operation is I'm going to reduce that cross section. So now I've got it reduced, and I have to apologize. I don't know how to tell you how much to reduce, because it's going to depend on how the next operation goes and how you spread it out. But it is now reduced, so you can see that I reduced it in the same parallel line as my finger grip. The purpose of that is I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees, and I'm going to start making my chisel surface, my cut for my chisel. So the width of my chisel will then be that 90 degrees to the way I'm holding it with my fingers. The other option would be to have the chisel in the same plane as your fingers, so you may want to have both styles in your toolbox. But for this demonstration, I'm going to do it at 90 degrees. So I got my heat back up to temperature. I'm going to hold this at a slight angle using the flat part of my rounding hammer, and I'm going to begin spreading that material starting at the working end. see the working end that I've created. I'm trying to make sure that I hit with strong enough hammer blows that I'm forcing the center of my metal out into the end. If I were doing a light hammer blow like this, it would be causing the surface of the metal to stretch over the end, and you will end up then with fish lip type of end on your tool. So it does take strong hammer blows with this size of material and this alloy steel in order to keep from developing those fish lips on the end. If you do have that rolled over edges, which we call fish lips, you can take a file and dress those off, but the objective is to not create them. I want you to visualize that the working end is a chisel, and it's in direct, it's 90 degrees to the finger grip area. And do not allow your metal to rotate and get into some other angle. So the thing to avoid is hitting when the metal is cold, and if it's cold, then your hammer blows, if they're off-centered, will cause your metal to rotate inside your tongs. So you need to keep the temperature up so that when you strike it with your hammer, it collapses and not bounces and rolls off the center. So that's the key point, and you have to, again, hit it hard. Looking at my outside edges, and I want those to be as uniform, straight as possible. I have a little bit of a high spot here that I would like to get rid of, and my end is about a strong 8, maybe 5/16, and my width I'm looking for is 1.25 inches, and I'm getting quite close to that. I think what I'll do in the next heat is I'll tap some of my end material back, upset it a little bit to give me some spread as well as a little more thickness on the very end. One have to admit that I got distracted for a second while my metal was in the fire. I let it overheat, and you can see faster than that. It's been burned. You see the bubbling and the scale formed on the surfaces. The metal is essentially destroyed. The only option I would have at this point is to cut off. I would cut it off about here, and the rest of this is scrap. And back here, I think is still valuable, usable metal. So I can do that in a Harding hot cut and save it. I got to bring it back up to cutting temperature to do that, and so I will. And I will just proceed on, and we'll have a little bit shorter chisel. But that's what happens if you don't pay attention to your fire. Shorter chisel. Now I'll proceed with the same process we're working on, and it'll just be a short version. Not intended as a demonstration on how to not do something, but this is reality, and this is what's going to happen if you're not careful. I'm going to show you here just a little bit of upsetting in order to flatten out the end of that chisel. Right now, after the cut off, it was very narrow and sharp. I would like to have the chisel cutting edge to be sharp, and I want to have some material to back it up so it doesn't collapse and it's got more strength. So I'm just trying to give myself a little bit of extra material on the end there to allow me to be able to then dress off the very cutting edge of this chisel. Taking a look at my sides and aligning my visual down the sides, making some minor adjustments, and then basically should be ready to go. It's a little bit shorter, it's got a little bit of a bend in it. So I'm going to come over here on top of the hardy hole and use that as a bending mechanism. I have a spot on one side and on the other side, and I can then reach across the hardy hole and then strike my metal, and that will cause it to bend between those two spots on the hardy. It's always nice to know how to correct your mistakes, and this is just one way to do it. And bending is an art in itself, and I like to use the hardy hole as a bending point where I can then bridge across, and the metal has a place to bend down underneath. You always have to have 2 points of contact for straightening and bending, and this gives me 2 points, one on this side and one on the other side. So now I have a somewhat shortened version of our chisel that we had initially planned to make. Otherwise, it looks good to me. So I'll admit that the heating process and burning process on the end may have caused some problems with the steel microstructure. There may be some larger grain growth there, but we'll resolve that in the annealing process.